Rare Diseases, Real Stories is a special podcast series about children living with rare diseases and their parents.
In 1999, a diagnosis of infantile Tay-Sachs was 100% a death sentence.
It was a journey that ended with a result we never saw coming.
It's about the transformational power families wield in moving rare diseases research forward.
It's a community that relies on each other.
Each episode is about courage, perseverance.
You know, as parents, we are going to fight with him till the end.
Okay.
Gene therapy that provides hope.
Hope and love.
You're tickling me.
There is something about Noah that sparkles. It's infectious.
Families share their stories from the front lines when every moment counts.
She is doing things that we never expected her to do ever.
I'm Jennifer Berryman. I'll be your host. This is a production of UMass Chan Medical School. Of all the families you will meet in this series, none has a simple story. Each reflects what happens to families after a serious medical diagnosis. Forever, there is a before and after, when they've been launched into a roller coaster ride they never would have chosen. There are highs and lows, twists and turns, and not much control. But no story is more improbable or unlikely than that of baby Catherine.
I'm Tamara Radivilova. Yeah, I'm Catherine mom. She has a Tay-Sachs disease. I was born in Ukraine, in Kharkiv. It's near the border with Russia. My husband from Kharkiv too. Dmitry was born in Kharkiv too.
But today, Tamara, her parents, her 10-year-old son Dmitry, and 2-year-old Catherine are living 1,600 miles from home.
It reminds you of Kharkiv? Can you take us back to how you first heard about Catherine?
Yeah, this really is a very remarkable and unique story.
Tamara's husband, Catherine's father, is fighting for Ukraine in its war against Russia. Just 1 week after the war began in late February 2022, they had a decision to make.
No end to the exodus. The train station in Lviv bursting with war-weary people fleeing their homes, places already torn up or under increasing threats.
Did you know right away that you would have to leave? How did you make that decision?
Because our city is near the border of Russia. It was bombing in our house. Our window was broken by the bomb.
As Russia bears down and Ukrainians defend, terrified residents are rushing the borders.
Tamara was pregnant with Catherine at the time. She, her mother, and then 8-year-old Dmitry stepped onto an evacuation train, their final destination unknown. Where did the evacuation train go?
In the evacuation train, we thought that we should go to Uzhgorod, but this train go to Ternopil, this city. It's on the west of Ukraine, not far away from Lviv. And on the next day, we are going to Slovakia. And then the 8th of March, we come into Brussels. And we are going to this center for refugees.
In Brussels, they were getting settled and making a new life.
The pregnancy was good. Everything was good.
Catherine was born in September 2022.
She's doing everything that the baby doing, so everything was good till July. In July, it's starting something strange. She's starting to be weak.
Tamara chalked it up to Catherine feeling tired or lethargic in the hot summer weather. Catherine's symptoms persisted, but 2 doctors told them everything was fine. Then Tamara took Catherine to see a pediatric neurologist.
Catherine was referred to our university by one of my colleagues who also works in a local hospital, who had a suspicion of a neurodegenerative disorder because she was doing less well than before and losing skills.
Tessa Wassenberg is an MD-PhD pediatric neurologist in Brussels. She examined Catherine, did an MRI, and before the results of genetic testing even came back, was confident she was looking at a child with Tay-Sachs disease.
We know that Tay-Sachs is a very devastating disorder, and the infantile Tay-Sachs is not treatable at this moment, so it's really a hard diagnosis to give to the families.
Dr. Wassenberg wasted no time looking for clinical trials that might help Catherine. She found one, led by Terry Flott, a world-renowned gene therapy researcher and physician at UMass Chan Medical School.
I got an email from a child neurologist in Brussels, Dr. Tessa Wassenberg, and she described a patient, turned out to be Catherine, who was very recently diagnosed.
Timing would be everything. Dr. Flott was leading a clinical trial investigating if gene therapy might help arrest Tay-Sachs in young children. The trial criteria were strict. Babies had to be less than 20 months old at the time they would receive the gene therapy, and he could only accept 9 patients in total. And after each patient received the gene therapy, the Food and Drug Administration requires that data be analyzed before another child can be dosed.
It takes at least 6 weeks after we treat a patient before we can open up to another patient.
But every week that passes can mean that a child who might otherwise qualify for the experimental gene therapy deteriorates or ages out.
What that means is that there's a tight window. The diagnosis has to be made young in life. The information has to come to us pretty quickly, and then we have to be able to determine if the infant can meet the inclusion and exclusion criteria, which we've tried to make as broad as possible, but want to be sure we wouldn't put a patient through this if they were beyond a certain point of progression where they wouldn't realistically be expected to benefit from it in any way. What we'll have to do is quickly evaluate the patient, have to see them, and it seemed like it would be even more complex in this case because of their unusual personal circumstances. They were dealing with a lot to then have this possibility of an invasive type of administration of a gene therapy put on top of that. So I really felt like we needed to have some really in-depth conversations, and we were worried because there they were, like Ukrainian nationals in Belgium. How are they going to get from Belgium to the US? And it was really incredible luck or fate or a blessing, or however you think about that. It was some incredible circumstance that I was due to be traveling to Brussels 10 days from that time when we decided, and I was going there for the European gene therapy meetings, European Society of Gene and Cell Therapy. And so I contacted Dr. Wassenberg and said, is there any chance we could arrange a meeting?
And when you saw Catherine, what did you think?
She was in remarkably good shape, and I think for a child with infantile Tay-Sachs. And that's what we really look for, one that has a fully proven diagnosis, that we're able to get into that critical window when they still have functions that we can help them hold on to. But the visa issue was the overriding issue. And I will say that, we just didn't know if there was any remote possibility that we could work out a visa given this very tight time constraint. I thought, well, if we're going to possibly do this, we're going to have to do it through some intervention, divine or otherwise.
From the airport in Brussels, Dr. Flott went in search of that intervention. He called Massachusetts Congressman Jim McGovern, whose district includes UMass Chan.
I was able to get him on the phone personally and explain the situation. And he said, well, let my team work on it. I think I was talking to him on a Saturday or Sunday, depending on what continent you were on. And it turned out, I flew back, and then it turned out that by the end of Monday, we had the emergency medical visa approved.
It wasn't the first or only almost unbelievable turn of events. So many stars had to align to make Catherine's story possible. Not only was the emergency medical visa approved in a matter of hours, thanks to Congressman McGovern and his team, but Catherine satisfied the inclusion-exclusion criteria for the clinical trial. She was the right age and had been diagnosed early when there was hope the treatment might make a difference. Dr. Flott just happened to be attending that conference in Brussels, where Tamara and her kids were living after escaping the war, and where he had the chance to examine Catherine and talk with Tamara about the ramifications of the clinical trial. And perhaps most unbelievable of all, doctors had received FDA approval to treat up to 9 children with this experimental gene therapy, and Catherine would be patient number 9, qualifying for the only remaining spot.
We decided to go, of course. It was just only one chance to do something.
Was it a difficult decision for you?
No, it was not hard. It was not a hard decision or something like that.
How did you survive that?
I don't know. Somehow, I don't know. Maybe if you don't have a choice, you can do that.
Within a matter of days, Tamara and her husband once again found themselves at an inflection point. 1,600 miles away from Brussels and his family, he was still on the front lines in Ukraine, calling whenever he could to check in. And Tamara was faced with the prospect of leaving her home once again, this time to take Catherine on an even longer and more uncertain journey, 3,500 miles away to Worcester, Massachusetts, for her baby to receive an investigational gene therapy. It's really hard to imagine the weight on Tamara's shoulders.
Yeah.
A husband fighting in Ukraine, her parents and son living in Brussels as refugees, and she's now in the U.S. with her daughter getting an experimental gene therapy. I mean, it's almost unimaginable. How did she strike you?
Well, I would just say yes to what you just said. I don't necessarily think that I, as an individual, could have handled that. She handled it both with, kind of the fierce dedication that a lot of our mothers have, but I think also with a certain poise and grace. Tamara, as a mother, is pretty exceptional in that, she's a university professor. She was able to handle integrating a lot of complex information and complex emotions at the same time. And she came across with a pretty clear, I think, decision related to the risk benefit and committing to the trial. So that part helped, because that's a very difficult decision for families.
With the decision made, Tamara and Catherine packed up to spend months in the U.S., while Dimitri stayed in school in Brussels with his grandparents. At UMass Chan, Catherine first underwent weeks of preparation that included imaging, lab tests, immune suppression, and functional testing.
We have a partner at Mass General Hospital, Florian Eichler, who coordinates doing some of the assessments so that they can be done somewhat independently and we hope in a somewhat less biased fashion.
All in preparation for the delicate and complex surgery that would deliver genetically modified instructions to her brain cells to teach them how to produce the enzyme that's missing in children with Tay-Sachs. It's called HEX-A.
The surgery they undergo is to have this image-guided, MRI-guided, tiny, thin catheter, basically a tube put in with a needle into a deep brain structure called the thalamus on each side. And then through that catheter, over a very long period of time, the vector material, the good genes, are actually put in, kind of filtered in slowly over, like in her case, it would have been at least 8 hours altogether, maybe 9 hours. And the very next day, we do a second administration, but instead of putting this one into the brain, we go in through a spinal needle the way that you would get a spinal tap. We do it two ways because the deep brain structure that we are in does have connections over wide portions of the brain, but it doesn't connect well into the spinal cord or the more posterior parts of the brain. We call it posterior fossa structure, cerebellum, and so forth. In the spinal fluid, it bathes the outside of the brain, so we're trying to get it from the inside out and from the outside in. So that's day 2.
After some recovery time in the hospital, Tamara and Catherine called a hotel near the hospital home for weeks so they could be close by for follow-up appointments, at first for safety, and as the weeks go on to see if the gene therapy is actually taking effect, prompting her brain cells to make their own HEX-A. Dr. Flott says that when gene therapy is effective,
we're able to see that we've either reversed some parts for a short time, the first month or so, or after that really slow it down, plateau it, because we're catching these patients at a point in time where they would be rapidly losing many functions. And interestingly, they preserve the ability to feed by mouth and either delay or avoid the tube feeding for quite a long time. So that's a pretty big change.
Is it here? Oh, on the other side of the street. Okay. Yes, this is good. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Number 20.
Yeah.
Hi, Tamara. It's Jennifer.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you Tamara?
Yeah.
Hi.
in December, we visited Tamara and her family and accompanied them to one of Catherine's physio or PT appointments.
Hello, it's Anne. Bonjour. Hello. Move over the body slowly, trying to get comfortable.
The roller coaster of Catherine's recovery continues. After returning to Brussels from Worcester, for a time she got stronger. She was able to sit up, hold her head up for a bit on her own, make eye contact, and play with other people. In the months since, she has suffered setbacks too, including seizures. In the fall of 2024, Catherine spent a month in the hospital due to vomiting, which caused her to get weaker once again. Tamara found a physical therapist they love and stepped up appointments to twice a week to try to help Catherine regain all that she had lost. What muscles is she working right now?
Now she's using her shoulder mainly, okay? And it's the pushing like this. Yeah. And also a little bit for the head, but I'm helping there. Can you push a bit? Push with me, push with me. Push and push with me. Okay. Feels good? A little bit of stretch. Okay, now you open your eyes. Yeah.
Are you trying to stretch her muscles?
Mostly to activate them. A bit of stretching for her to sense them, and a bit of tension in the direction of the articulation to the body, so she can react and then participate a bit. Depending of the day, the hour, and the willing.
Tamara, can you tell if she likes it or doesn't like it?
Oh, when she doesn't like it, she shows.
How do you think about the future in terms of Catherine's childhood and progression?
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, bravo, my lovely baby. Yeah, you did it by yourself. Bravo.
How do you describe the role and the impact of families in driving this work?
No question that our program wouldn't exist without families. We always want to be sure they understand this is investigational. This is a trial. It means we don't know everything that's going to happen, and it incurs significant risk. Deciding to do all of that, to go through all of that, and have no guarantee that it's really going to help, that takes a lot of courage. In pretty much every case, we hear families say, hopefully it will help my baby, but if we can just help other families who end up in this situation we're in for the future by helping move things forward, we want to do that. We want our baby's life to be meaningful, and part of how it's meaningful, I think all of us, for what we do, is both what we enjoy about it, but I think also feeling like we were here for a reason, and I think I've heard families reflect on that.
It's not the same with every children.
Every child has a different response.
Yeah.
Of course, we should give hope about new treatments and new developments. It's really important to give hope, but also to give, a good education about what is a clinical trial, what can we expect, and we'll make sure we will support them in every way.
Dr. Flott, whose own career has matched the arc of modern gene therapy, is deeply invested and inspired by its promise to treat rare genetic diseases.
For me, it's been quite interesting because I just finished my fellowship training in 1992, and by 1995, I was the principal investigator of the first human trial with AAV. I feel sometimes like I'm the Forrest Gump of gene therapy. I really happen to be in the right place at the right time. When you first see that you can get a gene into a person and measure it and know it's there, well, that's like, you take the first step. The technology then has to improve, but in some cases, it can only improve so far before you need some new science. Especially in the case of single gene disorders, which, rare single gene disorders, there's 7,000 of them. They affect 1 in 10 Americans. In that case, if there's one gene causing one disease, the concept behind gene therapy is basically too simple to fail. That once you have a single gene you can change, and you have a means to put it into the cells, it's really just a matter of technology at that point. It's just a matter of refining our process, improving, making it safer, more efficient. I am very, very bullish on this. I do think that over time we'll come up with simpler systems that can be made more cheaply and more rapidly.
You worked so hard, you're so tired. Yeah.
For now, Catherine's doctors in Brussels are trying to manage her seizures and chart her progress, while her mom and grandparents remain devoted around-the-clock caregivers. They spend every waking hour tending to Catherine as she sleeps, eats, and as her mom helps her work her muscles every single day.
She's standing here with this?
Yeah.
Okay. With the standing table?
Sometimes with the table, sometimes I'm just on the whole chair.
Tamara kisses her son Dimitri's head as he sits at the kitchen table. He's 10 now and settling into their new life in Brussels, 1,600 miles from where he was born. It took him about 6 months before Tamara says he was comfortable in their adopted home. But he's making friends and in school learning to speak new languages, making it 5 in all: Ukrainian, Russian, Dutch, French, and now English, which she urges him to practice with their visitor from Massachusetts.
English, please.
Niet. You like to be in Brussels?
Do you like to be in Brussels?
Yes.
Yes. What do you like? You like your friends?
What else do you like? The whole life. Everything.
It's a good life. We see that you've been through so much, and so we want to thank you for sharing it with us. You have such incredible strength.
No, not enough. Not enough.
Well, it's gotten you this far. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I would like to once again extend our sincerest gratitude to Tamara and her family for their willingness to meet with me in Brussels. We'd like to thank Dean Flott for adding valuable insights into this episode, as well as Dr. Wassenberg for carving out time to speak with us. In the next episode, you'll meet 4-year-old Noah Greenwood.
Beyond being this beautiful medical miracle, she is also just this gorgeous, funny, smart like engaging child.
Noah is redefining what is possible in the face of a rare genetic disorder known as Canavan disease.
We never thought this was what she was going to be able to do. We never thought this was what she was going to be like.
Her parents, Lori and Lee Greenwood, share Noah's progress more than 2 years after she received treatment in a Canavan trial using an experimental gene therapy.
I will see her do something or she will say something, and it is still like blowing my mind.
What does that say? No. Noah. That's right. Really good.
Keep listening to hear Noah's journey. Rare Diseases, Real Stories is a production of the Office of Communications at UMass Chan Medical School. It was conceived of and produced by Sarah Willey. Brian Goodchild produced and edited the episode. Dan Lambert and Samuela Akab designed our graphics. Joanna Elizio and Ray Gonzalez developed the webpage. It's also produced and hosted by me, Jennifer Berryman. If you like what you're hearing, follow and subscribe to Rare Diseases, Real Stories wherever you get your podcasts. And to read or listen to every episode in this special series, visit umassmed.edu/Rare Diseases, Real Stories. You can also email us anytime at advancingtogether@umassmed.edu.